Good morning to all of you. In the previous class, we have solved problems on spur gear. Okay. Today we will take a new topic, that is one more type of gear, that is helical gear. Okay. Almost whatever the procedure for the designing of the gear is there for a helical gear, it is same as that of the spur gear. Almost 80% design is same. Okay, if you see the spur gear, okay, whatever these teeth are there, okay, the teeth of the spur gear are cut parallel to the axis of this shaft. Otherwise you can see, yes, here you can see that this is the axis of the shaft, and you can see the teeth. The teeth of the spur gears are cut parallel to the axis of the shaft. Okay, whereas when you take the teeth of the helical, okay, the teeth of this helical gears are cut in the form of the helix. That's why the name is given as helical gear. Okay. And this helix is done on the pitch cylinder. And as you compare this helical gear with the spur gear, okay, and in the spur gear, whatever the contact between the meshing teeth, here you can see that the contact between the meshing teeth occurs along the entire face width of the tooth, okay, resulting in sudden application of load. If you see the spur gear, in that whatever the meshing of the teeth, okay, which takes place entire face width of the tooth. Here you can see that whatever the meshing of the two gears are there, it will take on the entire face width of the teeth. As a result of that, there will be sudden application of the load, which will result into a impact conditions, like there will be a sudden impact load on the gear. Okay, because of that it will generate more noise. Okay, and whereas if you see the helical gear, uh, the noise compared to the spur gear, it operates quiet. Okay, I will tell you the reason. In the helical gear, whatever the contact between the mesh teeth, here the contact between the mesh teeth begin with a point. It will start with a point on the leading edge of the teeth. It will start with a point at the leading edge of the teeth and gradually extends along the diagonal line of the teeth. As a result of that, there is a gradual pickup of load. Here, there will be no sudden load acting on the helical gear. Whatever the load is there, it will gradually pick up. Okay, these teeth are going to gradually pick up the load, whereas in a spur gear, there will be a sudden load, because whatever the meshing teeth are there, okay, the entire face width of the teeth come in contact. Here gradually the teeth is going to pick up the load. As a result of that, the operation is smooth, or whatever the engagement of the gears are there, it will be smooth, and that's why the operation is quiet. And both spur gear as well as a helical gear, both are used for high speed applications. And the major difference is here, whatever the teeth are there, okay, these are like they are going to cut, okay, in the form of the helix, whereas in the spur gear, whatever the teeth are there, it will be parallel to the axis of the shaft, and where you are going to use this helical gears. The major applications of the helical gears are, it is used in automobiles, okay, and the other applications of this helical gear is it is used in the turbines, and where high speed application is there, there we can go ahead with this helical gear. And in this helical gear there are two types. One is parallel helical gear, other one is a crossed helical gear. The first figure which you are seeing, sorry, the second figure which you are seeing, it is a parallel helical gear, whereas the third figure is a crossed helical gear. Now we'll see what do you mean by this parallel helical gear and what do you mean by this cross helical gear. These parallel helical gears are going to operate on two parallel shafts. Here you can see that whatever the two shafts are there, which will be parallel to each other. Whereas in the cross helical gear, the shafts are going to be mounted crossed. Here you can see that these shafts are not parallel. It is going to be crossed axis. That is the major difference between the parallel. That's why they have given the name parallel, because whatever the shafts of two gears here, the shafts are parallel, whereas in crossed helical gear it is crossed axis. And in case of the parallel helical gear, whatever the magnitude of this helical angle is there, it is same for the both pinion as well as gear. The magnitude of the helical angle, for example, if you take helical angle as 30, helical angle is denoted by beta. In the next slide I will tell you what do you mean by this helix angle. Okay. The magnitude of this helical angle is same for pinion as well as for gear, but whatever the hand of the helix is there, it will be opposite. Hand of the helix means either they can use right or left hand of the helix. Okay, if pinion is made up of right hand of helix and the gear will be left hand of the helix, or vice versa. If gear is of left hand of the helix, then the pinion will be right hand. Means both will be opposite. It will not be same. Whereas in the cross helical gears, whatever the teeth are there, okay, the teeth can be same or opposite hand. As I told you, in the parallel helical gear, always the teeth will be, the hand of the teeth will be opposite. If this is right and this will be left, if this is left and this will be right. Whereas in cross helical gear, you can use both same or opposite hands of the helical. If you can use right, and on the gear you can use right or you can use the opposite. This is about the helical gear. If you understood or if you have any doubts in this helical gear, you can ask me. Do you have any doubts in this helical gear? Here we have made a comparison between helical gear and the spur gear. Why? Because whatever the procedure is there, it is same. Whereas in helical gear, whatever the teeth are there, okay, these are inclined by certain angle. That is called as helix angle. Whereas in a spur gear, the teeth will be parallel to the axis of the shaft. Bharat, do you have any doubt?
No, sir.
Okay. Nikhil Patil.
No doubt, sir.
Okay, understood. Okay, thank you. I will take the next one. That is the terminologies which we are going to use in the helical gear. Okay, you can see that this is the front view of the helical gear. Okay, how the helical angle is going to be taken. Here you can see that whatever the teeth are there, these are cut to a certain angle to the axis of the shaft. This is the axis of the shaft, and these teeth are cut to a certain angle. Okay, whereas in your bulviredi, we are going to take this angle as beta. Okay, here it is psi. For bulviredi data and book, we will take it as beta, helical angle or helix angle. Okay, this helical angle is nothing but it is the angle between the element of the helical teeth or the tooth and the axis of the rotation of the gear or the shaft. Helical angle, it is denoted by beta, and it is the angle between the helical tooth and to the axis of the rotation of the gear. This is called as helical angle. And next is P, or it is also denoted by PT, that is a transverse circular pitch. This transverse circular pitch is nothing but, here you can see that it is the distance between the corresponding points. It is the distance between the corresponding points on the adjacent teeth, okay, which is measured on the pitch circle. This is the pitch circle. Transverse circular pitch is denoted by P or PT. It is the distance between the corresponding points on the adjacent teeth, which is going to be measured on the pitch circle. And this is PN. PN is nothing but normal circular pitch. PN is nothing but normal circular pitch, and it is the distance between the corresponding points. It is the distance between the corresponding points on the adjacent teeth, which is measured in the direction normal to the teeth. You need to measure the distance normal to the teeth, and that will be the distance between the corresponding points on the adjacent teeth. That is called as normal circular pitch. And the next one is we'll call it as a formative or equivalent number of teeth, or we will call it as a virtual number of teeth. Okay, this virtual number of teeth or equivalent number of teeth is nothing but it is the number of teeth of the equivalent spur gate in the normal plane. Virtual or equivalent number of teeth is nothing but it is the number of teeth on the of the equivalent spur gate in the normal plane, and that is denoted by ZE, and that ZE can be calculated using the formula which is used to find out the equivalent or virtual number of teeth. ZE is equal to Z1 divided by cos cube beta, and this beta is nothing but the helical angle. This is the beta. For example, if you are finding the virtual number of teeth on pinion, I will take it as Z1. If you are going to find out the virtual number of teeth on gear, we will take it as Z2. Okay, it depends upon which gear you have considered. Okay, if I consider pinion, then I will mention it as ZE1. If I consider gear, then I will mention it as ZE2. At that time, this will be number of teeth on the gear divided by cos cube beta, and this helical angle will be given. According to that, you will get the formative or equivalent number of teeth in the gear. These are the terminologies which we are going to use. And if we talk about the design procedure of helical gear, okay, the design procedure is same as that of the spur gear. Almost 80% is same. That's why I will not give the procedure directly. I am going to take the problem, okay, and from that problem you can understand, okay, what is the changes which you need to make for the design of the helical. Okay, now I am going to take down the problem on the helical gear. That is the complete design of the helical gear. In this, a pair of helical gear is used to transmit 15 kilonewton. Means the power transmitted is 15 kilonewton. Therefore, P is equal to 15 into 10 raised to 3 Newton. The teeth are 20-degree full depth. Therefore, the alpha n, here we are going to represent it as alpha n. Therefore, alpha n is equal to 20-degree full depth and have helical or helix angle 30-degree. Helix angle, as I told you, it is denoted by beta. Beta is given, it is 30-degree, and the pinion has 24 teeth. He has given the number of teeth on pinion. Pinion means it is denoted as Z1. Z1 is equal to 24 and operates at 10,000 RPM. He has given the RPM of the pinion means it is N1. N1 is equal to 10,000. N1 is equal to 10,000. After that, the velocity ratio is 5:1. Velocity ratio is denoted by I. I is equal to 5:1. And he has given uh, the material which is used for pinion and gear. The pinion is made of cast steel, and he has given the allowable static stress. Sigma d is nothing but allowable static stress. It is given as 50 megapascal, and gear is of bronze, and the allowable static stress for gear is 40 megapascal. The pinion material is hardened to 200 bhn. The hardness of pinion material is a 200 Brinell hardness number. Next, he has asked the design the gear pair. You need to design the gear pair. First, note down the given data. Already we have noted down the given data. Okay, and whatever this sigma d value, okay, that is allowable static stress. In this case, he has given. If it is not given, what you need to do? Can anyone tell me? If the pinion and gear, if they only mention the material, okay, if they don't give the static allowable static stress, what you need to do? Can anyone answer? Jubair Nadaf?
Hello, sir.
Don't know?
Sir,
Yes?
Jubair
Yeah, tell
Nadaf,
me.
sir.
You don't know how to find?
No, sir.
Okay. In the previous lecture we have discussed, okay, but it is not given what you need to do. Saurabh, can you tell? Saurabh Dalvi?
Yes, sir. So we need to check from the table, sir, in data handbook.
Which table you need to check?
So I don't remember that number. Sir, 12 point something is there.
Yes, yes. It is 12.7. It is there in page number 234. And some of you are not able to recollect that. Once again, I will show you. In this problem, it is given. But if it is not given, what you need to do? This is the scanned copy of the data handbook. You should be knowing, you need to practice all those problems. Otherwise, it will be difficult. Yes, this is the uh, from this table you're going to note down the allowable static stress. Table number 12.7 to 34. That's why in the each step I'll be writing, if I'm referring any of the table, I'll be writing table number as well as page number, such that you will get it easily. Okay, in this case you can see, you need to check which material, okay, the pinion is made up of. According to that, you have to take down the allowable static stress. If the gear, according to the given material of the gear also, you need to take down the value. Okay, in this case he has given. Okay, in this case if he has not given and he has mentioned gear, and gear is made up of bronze, means it is 68.7 megapascal. Okay, in this case he has given. And whereas the pinion is cast steel. Okay, cast steel. And he will be mentioning whether it is untreated or heat treated. Okay, if it is a heat treated, you have to take this cast steel heat treated, and that value will be 193.2 megapascal. If it is untreated, it will be 138.3. Okay, according to that you have to take. Otherwise, if you are not able to take down this allowable static stress, then you will not proceed with the designing of the gears. This is the important point, first point. I hope now you understood. Jubair, now you understood? Jubair Nadaf.
Yes, sir.
Next time we will be finding the allowable static stress without any difficulty, correct?
Yeah, sir.
Okay. After getting that, next, if you see, uh, you need to calculate the number of teeth. Okay, in the gear, pinion is given, gear is not given. You need to find out that. Okay, and which formula you will be using? See the gear ratio formula. Gear ratio is equal to N1 by N2 is equal to Z2 by Z1. Gear ratio is given. Okay, and he has given the number of teeth on the pinion, means you can calculate number of teeth on the gear. Therefore Z2 is equal to I into Z1. Substitute the I value. I is 5, Z1 is 24, it will be 120. Similarly, number of teeth on the pinion is given, RPM of the pinion is given, whereas RPM of the gear is not given. You can use this gear ratio formula. I is equal to N1 by N2. Therefore, N2 is equal to N1 by I. N1 is 10,000, I is 5. 10,000 by 5 is 2000 RPM. Therefore, number of or the speed of the gear is 2000 RPM. Okay. Next, you need to find out the virtual number of teeth. Okay, this is the major difference. Okay. If you see the spur gear, in that we will be not calculating the virtual number of teeth on pinion. Why? Because here whatever the teeth are there, they are inclined by certain angle. That is called as helix angle. You need to consider that. For that, you need to find out the virtual number of teeth. This was not there in spur design, spur gear design. Okay, I need to find out virtual number of teeth on pinion. Okay, this equation is there in the data and book 12.22a, where they have given z is equal to z divided by cos cube beta. If you are finding virtual number of teeth on pinion, you have to substitute it as z1. If you are finding it for gear, virtual number of teeth on gear, you have to substitute it as z2. Therefore, virtual number of teeth on pinion is equal to z1 by cos cube beta. Z1 is given, it is 24 and beta is 30. Okay. Substitute the values. Okay. After substituting the values, okay, the virtual number of teeth on a pinion, you will get it as 36.95. Similarly, find out the virtual number of teeth on gear. It is ZE is equal to Z2 divided by cos cube beta. Z2 you have calculated, it is 120. Substitute that, cos cube beta is 30. From this, you are going to get it as 184.75. This is the virtual number of teeth on gain. Okay, and after that, similarly, you need to find out the Lewis form factor. You have to use the same formula to find out the Lewis form factor. Okay, what you have done. Yes. In the given problem, it is a 20-degree involute system. Okay, that's why I'll be using 12.5D to find out the Lewis form factor Y. Lewis form factor for pinion. Okay, in this case, instead of substituting Z, okay, you need to substitute the virtual number of teeth. Okay, in the spur gear, you will substitute it as, for example, if you are finding it for pinion, you will substitute it as Z1. If you are finding it for gear, you will substitute it as Z2. Whereas for the helical gear, you need to consider the virtual number of teeth. Okay, if you are finding pinion, you have to consider a virtual number of teeth on pinion. If you are finding it for Lewis form factor for gear, you have to consider virtual number of teeth on the gear. That's why I have written as ZE1, ZE2. Okay, the virtual number of teeth on pinion you have calculated, and similarly virtual number of teeth on gear is calculated. Substitute both the value, you will get the Lewis form factor for pinion as 0.1293, whereas for gear you will get it as 0.1491. Once you get these values, next is we need to identify which member is weaker, whether the pinion or gear. For that, you need to find out the strength factor. Strength factor for pinion and strength factor for gear. Strength factor for pinion, it is a sigma D, that is allowable static stress, which you will be calculating, or if it is not given, which you will be taking it from table number 12.7, page number 234. Okay, whereas in this they are given, substitute the allowable static stress for pinion 50 into Y, that is Lewis form factor for the pinion. Substitute that, we will calculate the strength factor for pinion, it is 6.465. Similarly, strength factor for gear, strength factor for gear, and that formula is sigma D into Y. It is sigma D is allowable static stress, it is 40 given for gear, multiplied by Lewis form factor for gear, it is calculated as 0.1491. Okay, strength factor for pinion we are getting it as 6.465, whereas strength factor for gear we are getting it as 5.96. Now looking at this, can anyone tell me which is stronger and which is weaker?
Gear is weaker.
Gear is weaker. Okay.
Yeah, stronger.
Which is stronger?
Pinion.
Yes, good. Vaibhav,
Yes, sir.
from the strength factor of the pinion and gear, from this, can you identify which member is weaker?
Pinions.
Pinion. Pinion is weaker. How you have identified that pinion is weaker? How you identified? What is the criteria
Strength
to
factor
identify?
is
Hmm?
greater, I think, sir. Strength factor
Strength.
for pinion.
Strength factor is greater for pinion. Yes, from this you can see that. But whatever the designing is there, whether it is depends upon the higher value or the weaker. Whether the designing should be done for the weaker member or for the stronger member.
Stronger members.
Stronger member. You are not attended the previous classes? Vishal?
Attended.
Then always the designing should be done for the weaker member.
Okay, sir.
You need to identify or you need to calculate the strength factor for pinion as well as gear. In this, whichever is lesser, if you can see that the strength factor of gear is less compared to the pinion, means pinion is stronger. Since pinion is greater than the strength factor of pinion is greater than the strength factor of gear. From this we can see that whatever the gear is there, it is weaker, and further designing is done for the weaker member. Therefore, design is based on the gear, not on the pinion. Okay. After that, next you will be finding the torque on gear. Okay. After that, next step is, after finding the weaker member, next step is to find out the torque. Okay. In this case, gear is weaker, that's why I will be finding torque on gear. And the formula is same. Here we are use N2 because we are designing it for gear. Okay. And whatever this value is there, CS, okay, you need to take it from the table. I will show that table, how to find out that value. Yes, here it is. The CS value to find out the torque on the gear. CS is nothing but service factor. In this problem, he has not mentioned whether which type of loading is done. If it is not mentioned, you can assume it as steady or light shock, and you can assume it is whatever the service period is there, it is 8 to 10 hours per day. Okay, what I will assume in the previous problem, I consider it as light shock. I will take it as steady, and whatever the service period is there, it is 8 to 10 hours per day. Means the value will be equal to 1. Therefore, the service factor, I have taken it as 1 from the table. Okay. Now you substitute that in the above equation. Power is given, it is 15 kilowatt, 15 into 10 raised to 3. Service factor is equal to 1, and N2 is calculated, it is 2000. Substitute that, and you are going to get the torque. Okay, it is 71,625 Newton mm. After finding the torque, Next is to calculate the pitch line velocity. Okay, the formula which is used is pi dn by 60,000. In this case, you're doing designing for the gear. Why? Because that is the weaker member. Therefore, v is equal to pi dn by 60,000. We know that from the module. Okay, module m is nothing but it is d by z, diameter divided by the number of teeth. Okay, if you are designing it for gear, it will be d2 by z2. Therefore d2 is equal to m into z2. M is not given, you need to calculate that. M into z2 is calculated, substitute that. And similarly, n2, the speed on the gear, it is calculated 2000, substitute that. Therefore velocity will get it as 12.566 m. In this case m is unknown. Okay, therefore velocity is 12.566 m meters per second. Okay. And after that, whatever the next procedure is there, we'll continue that in the next class. Thank you.